Farming, the thing that built every city, every empire, every civilization you've ever heard of, wasn't invented by a genius. It happened because someone forgot to clean up. 12,000 years ago, nobody was a farmer. Not one single person. Every human alive was a hunter-gatherer, moving from place to place, following animals, following seasons, following food. And it probably wasn't hunters carrying home a big kill. Most calories came from plants, so it was likely women and children who spilled those very first seeds. In the Fertile Crescent, Iraq, Syria, and Jordan, one specific food kept showing up. Wild wheat, wild barley, growing in scattered patches whenever the rain came. At Abu Huraira, archaeologists found early evidence. People foraged wild rye there, not farming it yet. These grains were annoying. Tiny seeds, huge fields. Hours bent over, picking through grass, one handful at a time, using sharp flint sickles. But they were worth it. Grain could be stored, didn't rot like meat, didn't run like an animal. Grain was gold, so every year, groups would travel to these wild fields, harvest as much as possible, bundle it up, walk it back to camp, sometimes for miles, carrying heavy loads. And here's where it gets interesting. There's another piece to this story. The climate turned brutal, a sudden cold, dry stretch. Wild grain grew harder to find. Every grain mattered more now, so people stuck closer to whatever grew best. But here's the twist. Nobody wanted this, not trying to settle down. Life got harder. So how did it happen? It started with spilled seeds. Every trip back to camp, seeds fell out, onto the trail, right outside camp, where people dumped waste, ash, scraps. That ground was disturbed, full of nutrients. Seeds had an advantage. Better soil, more sun. Next season, grain was already growing, right at their feet. No walking, no searching, just grain growing. Nobody planned this. A pure, repeated accident. Year after year, camp after camp, at dozens of sites, completely by chance. But here's the part that changed the world. Not every seed is same. Some grain shatters, splits open, scatters seeds. Great for the plant, terrible for harvesting. A random mutation. Didn't shatter easily. Humans harvested those more, carried them home, generation after generation. That is natural selection, by complete accident. Zero science, just habit. This is domestication syndrome. Bigger seeds, softer husks, all without one plan. People noticed the pattern. Easier to harvest each time. They stayed longer, watching, protecting, tossing seeds on purpose, copying the accident. Farming was born. Not a plan, a habit, that turned into agriculture. Not just wheat either. Lentils came next, then chickpeas, then flax. Same accident, different plants. It didn't stop. Shelters turned to villages. More people, more storage. Ownership, rules, order. Mud brick houses appeared. Places like Chattelhood grew huge. Thousands of people, one settlement. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. Kings, writing, armies, religion, all from spilled seeds. Here's a wild side effect. Someone had to track the grain. Who stored what? Who owed what to who? So people made marks on clay. Simple tally marks at first. Those marks became symbols. Cuneiform, the first writing system, born from counting grain. Not poetry, just inventory. Here's a competing theory. Maybe it wasn't bread. Maybe it was beer. Grain left in water ferments. By accident, again. Beer residue shows up first. Maybe they farmed for the drink. Either way, an accident. Here's the mind-blowing part. Farmers were less healthy. More tooth decay. More disease. Shorter height. Harder physical labor. Animals came too. Mice, rats, then goats. Disease jumped species. Measles, flu, constant contact. Land had value now. Theft, inequality began. Here's a bonus accident. Grain stores attracted mice. Mice attracted wildcats. Calm cats stuck around. Cats domesticated themselves. So why did it spread? More people per mile. Farmers outnumbered hunters. Not better, just bigger. Humanity's worst mistake. Hard for individuals. Unstoppable as a group. Everyone had to catch up. An accident repeated. This happened again elsewhere. Rice the same way in China. Maize the same way in Mesoamerica. Different people never met. Same accident repeating everywhere. It didn't stop at grain. Not everyone farmed anymore. Some became builders. Some became priests, rulers. Society had never looked like this. All downstream of an accident. Every loaf of bread. Every golden field you've seen. Every city skyline. Seeds nobody meant to plant. Trash nobody meant to keep. Not just farming either. Penicillin, an accident. The microwave, an accident. Post-it notes, an accident. Humans stumble into greatness. Want more accident stories? Subscribe for more. What accident are we making now? Something small right in front of us. Let me know below. See you next time.